What's going on, you guys? So, Conor Benn pulls off an upset victory over Chris Eubank Jr. in their highly anticipated rematch, right? You know, I wouldn't even say that it was highly anticipated. This fight kind of flew under the radar. I honestly had forgot about it up until yesterday when I saw the weigh-ins. I think this fight was, poorly promoted. And it really wasn't, in the first place, an important fight to happen. Just namesake alone, really not even their names. This fight, these guys are living off their daddy's name. But regardless, the first fight was all right. We got the second one, and you could clearly tell right off the bat that Chris Eubank Jr. just was completely depleted, dehydrated, drained. Didn't look like, he looked like a shell of himself in the first fight, honestly. But yeah, man, Conor Benn definitely looked stronger, definitely looked faster. He had more tenacity in the ring, I guess. But I thought Chris Eubank Jr. actually boxed pretty well. I thought he did use his jab. You know, he landed some good right hands throughout the course of the fight. Anytime that Conor Benn landed anything big, Chris Eubank Jr. responded with his own big shot, you know. And keep in mind, like I said, it's not like Chris Eubank Jr., you know, he wasn't a bigger puncher tonight, right? He wasn't faster or anything, but he hung in there. You know, in my eyes, up until the 12th round, right, I had it 6-5 for Conor Benn. And I thought the commentary of this fight was absolutely horrible, right? I think these guys, I don't know their names. I know Carl Frampton and Tony Bellew. I don't know the other dude's name who was kind of the blow-by-blow commentator, but that dude sucked. Tony Bellew sucked. Carl Frampton sucked. All of them were trash. And I think we're completely biased tonight. They had it a clean sweep for Conor Benn, and I thought that was outrageous because a majority of the fight, he didn't even do anything. He would land some big shots here and there, but anytime he landed anything big, like I said, Chris Eubank Jr. responded with his own big shot, right? But you could clearly see that Conor Benn was the bigger puncher, strong, and it was like almost anytime he threw, you're waiting to see if it's going to affect a Chris Eubank Jr. because he was completely dehydrated, right? So you kind of had that, like, anytime he threw a big punch, like, ooh, man, I almost got him, you know, but it really didn't. He landed occasional jab to the body or maybe a 1-2 to the body, and that was really about it up until the 12th round. And then the 12th round came, and, you know, he obviously knocked him down twice. Didn't get the job done, but he won on the scorecards, and he won by a large margin. And I knew even if it went the full, you know, 12 rounds, and let's say Chris Eubank Jr. stole the 12th round, or even the 11th and 12th, you know, in my eyes would have edged it. They wouldn't have given it to him regardless. That commentary crew, completely biased, and usually the commentary will tell the story of, you know, the judges potentially. I don't know. Boxing's kind of a corrupt sport, but I find it crazy in both of these Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr. fights that Conor Benn just carries his power all 12 rounds, doesn't get tired, you know, looks completely ripped at 160. I find it strange. And people soon forget that, hey, this was a guy who actually tested positive before the first fight even took place, right? On steroids, on PEDs. So I'm not going to be surprised at all if he pops dirty after this fight, which I think he will if they do a real blood test on him, right? If there was any testing at all, I don't know. But I imagine that Conor Benn was definitely juicing for this fight. That's my opinion. Obviously, I have nothing to prove that. I can go off of the, you know, history of him testing positive in the past. But in my eyes, this dude has been juiced up for both of these fights, except tonight he fought a completely drained, depleted, you know, Chris Eubank Jr. That was the difference in my eyes. I thought it was a juiced up Benn. I even saw clips leading up into this fight of him training. And it didn't take me long. It took me a 60-second YouTube short to tell me that this guy was completely juiced for this fight. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think he is a cheater. And Chris Eubank Jr., I think this is the tail end of his career, if not the very end. There was talks of a potential, Canelo fight, for a bounce back fight for Canelo, but I'm not even sure if he's coming back. I'm not sure if Chris Eubank Jr. has any, real motivation to continue fighting. And for Conor Benn, I don't really care. I don't really care. It's not even that like I'm a hater on Conor Benn, or I don't like him. I don't mind him, but I don't really care. He talked about going to 147. I guess that would be fine. So we're yet to see what's next. But those are my thoughts, man. I thought the scorecards were absolutely outrageous. I thought Chris Eubank Jr., held his own majority of the fight despite being completely drained. I think Conor Benn's a juice head and probably juiced out of his mind for this fight. And that's that, man. That's really it. These are just two dudes that were riding off their daddy's name and never done anything in the sport of boxing. So I didn't really have a real place or a real winner or anybody who I wanted to win. It was just a fight that, to watch on the weekend. That's really it. I forgot all about it. But those are my thoughts, man. Let me know what you guys think. Sorry for sounding a little, I guess, cynical, but it is what it is. But hate, like, comment, subscribe. Till next time.